Welcome back. So let's just start out by actually adding a new thing inside our Firebase Functions right here. We'll add something that can listen for when we delete products. So let's try and jump in here. Now I'm back inside the Cloud Firestore triggers right here, and I've found the Firestore triggers over here. So in the guide, and here I can actually see just a small example on how we can delete stuff. So let's just grab this and put it into our code. I'm going to just add it to the top right here, and it's going to be called exports delete product, right? So because I want to listen for whenever we're deleting a product. And where do we find that? Well, that's inside the products path, and it's called this ID. We're not going to use it, but this is pretty much just a way for you to get each product ID whenever you get a delete event, right? So it's pretty much going to be this way. If you delete a product, this guy will pass in the product ID, so I have it if I need it for something. Now the final thing that you're getting is this snap and context. Now if you say snap.data like you're doing right here, you'll actually get the information about the product you just deleted. Now why is that valuable? Because if we have that information, that means that inside the database, we can now go and get that picture ID, right? Because whenever we delete a product, we want to use the picture ID to delete the metadata file with that picture ID and also delete the actual file in the storage with that picture ID. So that's why we kind of need this information when we delete something. So now we have this deleted product here. What can we use it for? Well, we can of course use it just like we did before. We can start grabbing information. Let's just start by going into the files and actually removing the specific file from the collection. So I'm jumping in here and I'm just going to find that document called deleted product dot, and then I need the picture ID, right? Picture ID. There we go. So now we're actually sending this in here. Now this could be undefined right now. That's what it's telling me. So we need to kind of figure that one out. And what we'll do is pretty much just go in here and return. We'll start by wrapping this in a promise right here like we've done so many times. And then we can just return that when we're done. So let me just try and wrap it all in a promise and just add this end tag right here. So now it's wrapped in a promise again, and we have this resolve reject available. The second thing I want to do is I want to say if there's no project deleted, so if deleted project, if that is actually available, I want to use it. And that's kind of the way that I make sure that it exists before I call the product ID. If that is not available, I'll add an else right here, and then I'll pretty much just send an exception, right? So notice right from the start, I start out by adding information right away. So I'll say no product deleted right here. You might as well just from the start add debug information and actually just reject your promise right here if something goes bad. Okay, so now we have the product right here available, and what should we be able to do? We can just call delete, right? And then we'll get a promise right here. We can say then, and we can say if everything goes well, what do I want to do? Well, hopefully I've deleted the actual file information now. So let's just say we get something back right here. Let's just put in value. I don't know what I'm getting back right now. I really don't care, because all I want to do is kind of just say resolve because everything went well and just pass in that value as a result of the successful promise right here. Now then I can actually go in right after and say catch, and if that happens I'll get an error back, and then again I can just use the reject right here and just return the error, right? So perfect stuff. Now there's actually a way in this setup right here where we can go in and we can actually add a second value under the then value right here. If you notice, if I go in and add the parentheses, you'll see that there are actually two unreject and unfulfilled. So I actually have to do a comma right here and add an error here as well, and then I can also reject if that happens. So now I've made absolutely sure that if any of these errors occur, either through the then call or the catch call, I'll get an error back, right? Perfect stuff. So now we have this available, and now we should actually, whenever we delete a product, it should actually automatically go and delete only the file information, the metadata, right? Not the actual file yet. But let's try and see if this works now. Of course, we need to deploy this to Firebase Functions. So we'll just fire a good old command right here and let that upload. Now we have a new one called delete product. And again, while this launches, let's just talk about this for a second. What happens is that we go in and we create a promise. We listen, of course, on delete events, the trigger. We create a promise first, so we have something to return. And that promise gives us resolve or reject depending if things go well or things go bad, right? Then we go in and we create we just want the data for the deleted product, because in there we have an actual picture ID, and we can use that ID to find the specific file. We can delete that file metadata right there. If it goes well, we'll resolve. If it goes wrong, we'll reject in either of these two functions right here. And that's pretty much all I had to do. I'll just accept this right here to say I want to upload it, and everything should run in a second. Let's just get this up there and see what happens. Perfect stuff. So it's uploaded. Let's just try and see if it actually works now. I'll try and jump back to our application right here. And now notice again, if we jump back to the database, we need to find a starting place, right? Jump back to the database, we find products, and let's pick the top product, Dingo Turtle, the product 2. Let's try and go in here, Dingo Turtle product 2. Let's try and delete it. And before we do it, let me just show you. This is HRIB1 something. That's the guy we want to kind of delete right now from the file's metadata. So let's try and delete this guy and see what happens. He's gone. Let's try and see if Firebase caught something and tried to delete something for us. If we go into files, you'll notice right here, there's no HIB something something. So it actually went in there and deleted this document for me on Firebase Functions. Amazing. Now, of course, HIB something is still in here because I've not deleted the file yet. Here it is, HRIB. And again, we'll fix that in the next lesson. So it's not a big thing. Right now, we just deleted the file metadata. We just need to delete the final thing, which is the actual file. And we just made another function that makes it so easy for us to clean up our database whenever a request is sent. That's it for this lesson. See you next time. Have fun.